Hey, it is Erica from the Teacher Next Door team. I am recording this quick video for you. I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible. If you're watching in real time, it's Thanksgiving week. My kids personally have school, but our school district here in our neighborhood has conferences this week. So wherever you are, print this off, whether you're in conferences or at school, so you have it for when we return back from break. I am going to say this is something that we have created. This is the only place that you'll find it on the internet because we created this acronym and we find it extremely helpful. And instead of putting it in our TPT store, I am just sending it to all of you so that you have it and you can print it off. We're obviously free of charge, free PDF, but this is a super useful strategy. All right, let me get into why I created this. We are finishing up the paragraph project if you've been following along with that. We have fully gone through like every single component of writing paragraphs so that we have solid paragraphs from here on out, like every single time we write, because we're going to start getting into essays when we return back from Thanksgiving break, but we are also starting this guy, the Holidays Around the World unit. This is a huge unit. This is in our TPT store. So for those of you who already own this, which I know is so many of you, if you are using this, we didn't want to leave behind all of our writing focus moving into December. So because we've spent so much time on building up our writing toolboxes and using explicit writing instruction, we want to be able to incorporate it cross-curricularly, and it's not always the easiest to do in science. Like if you're using mystery science, a lot of that is hands-on, so it's pretty impossible to carve out time to continue writing in science. Like if we had our kids for 10 hours a day, we could for sure do it, but the school day is short. Social studies, same thing. Like you probably have a social studies textbook, but it's not always the easiest to write and carve out all of that time, especially in December when there's like 9 million assemblies and everybody's sick and missing days and whatnot. So if you are starting the Holidays Around the World unit, which I hope that you are, I love this unit. It has 21 countries and 21 holidays in it. But in here, I'm going to skip to, let me see. Okay, so this is page 57. I just jumped to a random page. I'm actually going to scroll up. That was England's Christmas in England, but I'm going to scroll up right here to page 54. This is talking about Lunar New Year. So as you can see, there's a passage here. There are comprehension questions that pair with this. We divvy this up for after Christmas break and then assign this throughout the entire month. So we pretty much travel the entire globe. There's a scrapbook page here where it has the different traditions that kids write down, traditional food, gifts that are given. And then there's also a map that's included. However, because this is a content-rich unit, which we pretty much don't ever see those types of like thematic units, especially in the upper grades. Like if you think about like kindergarten and first grade, they'll typically move through a thematic unit, building up that background knowledge because they come into kindergarten pretty much not having it. But in the upper grades, we lack a lot of that. So this kind of brings in, if you've read The Knowledge Gap by Natalie Wexler, this kind of addresses adding in tons of content knowledge for our students while also celebrating these really beautiful traditions that kids are likely unaware of outside of their own holidays that they celebrate. So how does this incorporate with writing and explicit writing instruction that we've been focusing on this entire year? We created this guy. All of those passages are obviously informational texts, and there's where we have to respond to a question. Whoops, I went back to my Canva. There's race where you're responding to a question, you're answering it, you're citing evidence, right? But when you're just writing a summary of an informational text, there's really no good tool out there that you can use, like an acronym to use that has that same systematic formula that our writing units do. Because as you know, when we're crafting our paragraphs, we follow a very specific step-by-step formula to give those kids the foundational tools so that they can apply those like in upper elementary as they get into middle school and then obviously through high school. So that said, when we're summarizing fictional text, you have, somebody wanted, but so then. Very easy for kids to remember. They hear it from like second grade on. But when we get to informational text, this is so much information, so much new information. It's like, how do we teach kids to summarize this in one paragraph? One, without copying straight from the text, because they think they're citing the text, but they're just copying it, right? And two, by reducing the cognitive load, because saying summarize this and then putting it in a center is going to overwhelm several of your students, right? You can probably pick out in your head right now which students would be successful with that and which students would have quite a challenging time with it. So Let's get into MAPS. This is our new acronym for summarizing informational text. It says MAPS helps you summarize informational text by following the same paragraph structure you already know. So if you've been following along with the paragraph project, this models the exact same way we craft paragraphs independently, except this time we're using a passage, reading it, and then applying that summary, that same step-by-step routine, that instructional method to this. So it's MAPS. M stands for the main idea. A stands for add the supporting ideas. P stands for put the details in your own words, a key component here in upper elementary, and S stands for sum it up. But you probably notice right here that in the middle, I have a bracket that says ×3. So technically this acronym is MAPAPAPS. However, I was not going to write that out for kids. It's much easier to remember it like this. So let me scroll down. And by the way, I gave you like colorful pages if you want to print these. I printed these poster size. So if you go to print these and you hit poster in Adobe, and I want to say if you go to like 138, no, that's too small, 158. So play with this and see how big you can get it before it spills. These are like 4 individual pages on here. And let's see, let's do 178. Go ahead and like play with this and see how big you can get it. Yeah, I like 183 because then I can like trim off the excess. And I put this on my bulletin board, so it's like as large as one of those 3M posters that you can hang on your wall, but those packets are so expensive that I would rather just paste these and glue these together. I just put tape on the back and put them together, and they look perfect. You can't even tell from sitting at your seat. Okay. All right, there's color pages in here, and then there's also black and white. I like to send this home to parents as well. I run this off on colored, like if we have access to colored paper in the copy room, I run this off on colored paper. So then when I put in my newsletter, like, look for the purple paper in your child's folder, just because it's like, you know, when you get home from work and you're going through your kid's folder, you've got, 2.5 minutes to figure everything out. Just make it as easy as possible for them. That's my little teacher tip. All right, so now I have a new anchor chart here. I have listed out the acronym like this, and then I put a reminder. This is actually the one that I printed out and put on my board. All right, so again, it just breaks it down like even further. The M is the main idea. These are all separate sentences aside from the A and the P here. The reason why they're bracketed is because this makes one complete sentence. So your main idea sentence is just this guy right here. Write one clear topic sentence that tells the big idea of the passage. So if you're reading about Lunar New Year, obviously your main idea sentence is going to be about Lunar New Year. The A and the P are combined into one sentence here. So it says, find a key supporting idea directly from the text. So kids are going directly diving into the text, and they shouldn't just be making something up. I have them highlighted in yellow since A is yellow here. And then the detail, like whatever that text says about that supporting idea, is going to be in pink here. So they're going to continue that same sentence by adding a short explanation or an example in their own words to show that they understand it. So the way I teach this in my classroom is that if you were just turning to a friend and talking to them about what you read in class about Lunar New Year today, you would use your own words to tell about that. So the supporting idea can be something directly from the text, but the details need to be in their own word. And that's one sentence. They're going to write those 3 times. So 3 different supporting ideas. I'm going to let you know right now, I have kids who are not able to find 3 supporting ideas just because this cognitive load is too much for them and for their goals on their IEP. I do lower this to 2 for some kids in my classroom. So just a heads up on that. You can change this. The final sentence in here. So we have 1 sentence, 2, 3, 4 sentences. The 5th sentence in your summary paragraph is going to be the sum it up sentence for S. Write 1 conclusion sentence that restates the big idea or theme. We've already covered this at this point in time in our paragraph unit where we write our conclusion sentences. So my students have already had ample practice knowing that concluding sentences do not repeat the topic sentence. They need to be able to restate it. If you haven't taught that conclusion sentence unit, highly, highly recommend it. It's so helpful because conclusion sentences can be a nightmare because you have a lot of kids who just end. And that's all I know about Lunar New Year. The end. That unit addresses that fully. So again, this is tying directly back into all of the units that we've already taught. We're just not leaving it behind in the month of December because we are pairing it with something pertinent to like the holidays around the world. We're getting that content-rich information. We're getting geography in. We're getting social studies in. It's a really fun unit. So This is another anchor chart. Again, you have it in black and white for you here if you don't have colored ink. This guy right here. This is just your simple graphic organizer here where you're going to organize all of your information. You can run it off. I'm going to show you another copy of this in a second, but again, you have it in black and white and color. This guy here, I'm not going to lie to you. I pretty much only provide this guy for kids who need a significant amount of writing scaffolding, where they really lack those organizational skills and they need to have like that step-by-step process. My own children would get this if they were in my classroom. This just kind of helps them organize, like, this is my main idea sentence. Here is where I am adding in my supporting ideas and I'm putting the details in my own words. And it just keeps track for them. So the kids who lack those executive functioning skills are getting this paper. Not everybody's going to get this. We're just going to skip down to the writing page, which you'll see on another page a little bit below, and I'll show you that in a second. So here's how we're going to combine this for holidays around the world using summarizing our informational text. So I'm going to give my kids a passage right here, and I wrote this all out beneath for you. So if you forget what I said in this video, just run this off. Here's the passage. Here's the graphic organizer that I have. When we're reading, I'm a big annotator, teach my kids how to annotate. They truly do not know how to do it when they walk into 4th grade. We annotate our text. I also like to utilize different highlighters that pair directly with our paragraph unit. So if I am finding like the main idea, that's obviously going to be in green. If I find a supporting idea, that's obviously going to be in yellow. If I find details, those are going to be in pink. I don't like to highlight over the words because it just gets so messy and overwhelming. I like to have them underline underneath it with the highlighter. This also works well with colored pencils, going to be honest, but like even by December, half of our colored pencils have gone missing. So just a heads up with that. We are annotating this baby right here as we read it. I do this in the same method as with explicit writing instruction, where it's like, I'm going to do it. We are going to do it together with the second passage. And on the third passage, you are going to do it. So I have that formative assessment. Like, did this stick? How are my kids doing with this? Was the lesson successful? So annotating this, again, doing a passage together by myself in front of them. Second time we do this, we're doing it together. I'm stopping, going back and forth. Okay, you find the main idea. Okay, what is it? Checking back in with them. And then third time independently. So annotating this guy, then we are moving to the graphic organizer here. We are going to pull out the main idea. Now, I'm not writing the complete sentence on my graphic organizer. We are doing like shorthand notes here. I'm teaching my kids how to go from a passage to shorthand notes and then eventually into our own words, step by step, again, lowering that cognitive load. We are pulling out the 3 details. You can see here, I'm going to zoom in. There are 3 places for the supporting ideas. 1, 2, 3. Put the details in our own words. I am going to say that on this, even though it's going to be a shorthand note, I'm just going to jot down a note. Is this going to wind up completely in our own words right now? Probably not, but as we craft our paragraph, we're going to add in like things like transitions. We're going to add in, we can add in adjectives for these things. We can add in descriptive words. We're going to put this in our own words when we get to our full paragraph writing. This should probably honestly take no more than 7 minutes, I would say, because again, shorthand. Sum it up, we're just putting a conclusion in here. We're just ending it. A lot of these passages will end with a nice conclusion for kids, but we're just reminding them they have to put in their own words. So pretty easy to pull out a conclusion here to sum up this passage. Again, all of these notes are written down here for you. So this page is just an example page. So I have basically already filled this out. Here's the passage we used. Here's Lunar New Year. We read the passage. We used maps to create an outline for the passage. We outlined it. We wrote our summary. We colored. So when we write our summary, just to hold kids accountable to their summary, I do make them color code their summary. If they're typing, they can change their text. I personally prefer handwriting. I think at this age level, they need ample practice with that hand-eye coordination, continuing to make sure that they're writing neatly and correctly. It slows the brain down. Our brains cannot catch up with reading on a screen, especially something that we've read. So I do make them handwrite. And I will have them color code with their colored pencils to make sure Do I have my topic sentence? Do I have 3 of my supporting ideas? I should have yellow in 3 different places in my paragraph. Do I have my pink? Do I have my details in my own words here? Do I have a concluding sentence that sums it all up here? So I do make them color code at the end and then make edits and revisions if needed. That these two pretty much go hand in hand. When they're color coding, they'll catch their mistakes very frequently because they're typically reading it out loud. But here is an example paragraph where this summarizes the Lunar New Year passage that we read from Holidays Around the World. And this is much, much shorter and summed up. So basically just telling kids, like, if we were telling somebody something very quickly, instead of having them sit down and do an entire passage and comprehension questions and a scrapbook page and a map on it, just slowing them down. And this is, again, the whole purpose of this is to not leave behind those writing skills that we have focused so much on over the past 3 months in school. We're not leaving them behind in the month of December, even though December can be chaotic and beautiful and full of tons of traditions and it's memory making. We're still keeping it academic and we're keeping the writing cross-curricular with social studies at this point. So here is a page that you can run off. This is just where the kids can write their summaries. I just gave you a title page. You can use this for any of them. I did add in here a Holidays Around the World one. So if you want to run this off for each of your countries, remember there's 21 in there. So you might want to, if you're doing all of these, run off 21 pages of this. And it's seriously ready to go. I'm not adding it to TPT. I'm going to add it into the Holidays Around the World unit. So if you're going to buy it, you will get it in the Holidays Around the World unit. It's linked in the email that you just got. If you're watching this, you opened the email. So it is linked in the email for us, but you can't buy this on TPT is what I'm saying. Like, you have access to it here. And then obviously we hope that you're able to apply this in your informational text unit moving forward, because again, there is no acronym online for summarizing informational text like there is the true and told somebody wanted but so then for fictional text. So hopefully this is very helpful and it breaks things down in a step-by-step manner that follows the explicit writing instruction that we've been focusing on all year. If you have any questions or suggestions, please send them my way. You can reply back to the email that you received, or you can always contact me at contact@the-teacher-next-door. It's just the teacher next door with dashes in between all of the words.com. And I will be happy to answer any questions that you have or hear any of your suggestions. Thanks.